Hi there, today we're going to be looking at bass sounds, synth bass sounds. First one, Chameleon. Second one, Birdland. The third one is like a generic sort of earth, wind and fire one. Okay, so the first sound that we're going to be looking at is the Herbie Hancock Chameleon, which was originally done on an ARP Odyssey. And oscillator 1 needs to be 16 foot, oscillator 2 16 foot, we don't need oscillator 3. Oscillator 1 is going to be a pulse waveform and the width of that is 54. Nice and buzzy. Oscillator 2 is a sawtooth waveform. Now we haven't applied any filters as yet, but that's the next bit that we can go on to. Okay, because this is a percussive kind of sound, we're going to have a look at the amplifier envelope first of all. And the attack time is 0. The decay time is 57. There we are. Sustain 0 and release, well, just need a little bit of release, no velocity. We'll look at the filter envelope, attack time 0, decay 57, so fairly similar. There we are. Sustain 30, which is fairly important to the sound. Okay, and the release time, again, something in that region would be fine. The amount of filter envelope applied to the filter is 20. But we need the cutoff to be reduced from a fully open filter to closed down. Now also I'm going to be using a 12 dB filter. This is a bit more appropriate for this sound because it lets in a few more higher harmonics. So the cutoff is all the way down to 39. There we are. And a little bit of resonance on that, 39. Oh, 67. So that's pretty much the sound. We also need the key track to be 64, so a fairly balanced, even filter throughout the keyboard. We need a little bit of distortion on this, because I think the original was probably put through a guitar amplifier. So we'll need a drive setting of 24, which just adds a little bit of fuzz to the sound. And here's our Chameleon sound. So very nice. The next sound that we're going to be looking at is Arnold's Birdland sound, which was probably done on an ARP 2600. And again we're looking at 16 foot on oscillator 1. We're also going to be using the pulse waveform, but now the pulse width is 62%. There we are, that's good. We've still got the envelopes from the Chameleon sound, but we'll be adjusting those in a second. We've got a sawtooth on oscillator 2, that's right. We need a bit of detune now. Let's do it to -9. Okay, there we are. And then we'll move on to the filter section. Okay, so the first thing that we can do is actually go back to the amplifier envelope. Attack time 0, decay 51. We're not actually far off on here. And we're also looking at sustain of 0. Oh, sorry, sustain 72. So I need a bit more sustain on this one, which provides the continuous sound there. That's good. And the velocity 0, release time can be 0 or 2. Let's look at the filter envelope this time. Now, it would seem that because of the nature of bass sounds that would want a strong attack. Actually on this one, we want the attack time to be a little less than immediate. We want it to be about 38. So we're getting a slight wow to the sound. Decay 55, not far off, there we are. Sustain 30. Am I looking at the right one? sustain 0, sorry, amount 22. Okay, we need to also look at the cutoff frequency, which is going to be 65. Drive actually wants to be 0 on this, and the resonance is going to be 40. So a bit too much resonance on there. And one of the important characters of the Birdland sound is the reverb. So we'll put the reverb in the effects section, and we need the time to be 80 and the level to be 54. Okay, so now here's the Birdland sound. Okay, the last sound that we're going to deal with today is a kind of a general earth, wind and fire sound, because the one that's used on Let's Groove is actually mainly vocoder. But let's go back to the oscillators and adjust those. So now we're going to be using a 32-foot pitch on oscillator 1. We're going to be using 32 on oscillator 2. And we need a pulse width here of 47. So it's mainly dealing with pulse waveforms, so let's go back to the pulse waveform there. And on oscillator 2 the pulse width is 41. Okay, now that we can move back to the filter section. Okay, again we're going to be looking at the amplifier envelope, and if we put the decay time to 127, that pretty much sorts the amplifier envelope out. The filter, we need that to be, the attack time to be 0. Decay 73. There we are. 73. Sustain is 0. So that's quite a long decay time on that. We must remember to turn the reverb off. And let's finally adjust the cutoff point of the filter. Cutoff 59, so a slight variation there. And the resonance needs to be about 36. And finally we'll adjust the key track, because we want the lower end of the keyboard to be a little bit mellower. We need the key track to be 106, and can you hear how it's mellowing out quite nicely there? And here's our Earth, Wind and Fire sound.